Almost dead yesterday, maybe dead tomorrow, but alive, gloriously alive today. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about spinal cord injury. Not the version people see, not the wheelchair, not the paralysis, but the biological realities happening inside the body. The things no one warns you about, the things even doctors sometimes rush past. These are silent systems that break, adapt and fight every single day after a spinal cord injury. Let's get into it. One of the most shocking things about spinal cord injury is this: your body can forget how to control its own temperature. Let me explain. Most people think sweating is automatic. You get hot, you sweat, you cool down. Simple. But it's not simple. It's neurological. Unajiuliza aje? So, your brain has a center called the hypothalamus. Think of it as your internal thermostat. It constantly monitors your body temperature and sends commands down the spinal cord to the autonomic nervous system. So hizo commands zinashow your sweat glands to activate and your blood vessels to widen or tighten depending on heat or cold. So msikami mwenye akona spinal cord injury, the communication is interrupted. So below the level of injury, the message never arrives. Hisa inamaanisha sweat glands stay silent, blood vessels don't respond properly, the skin can't help cool the body down or conserve heat when it needs to. Na hii ni noma sana, juu in hot environments, my core temperature can rise without warning. I might not feel it building kama msee ako sawa, juu naweza kosa kusweat at all below my injury. So kenye overheating inadu, it causes heat exhaustion ama kukienda vibaya heat stroke. Juu sina the usual signals my body will normally depend on. Na siku za baridi, the opposite happens. Blood vessels fail to constrict properly, heat escapes, hypothermia becomes a real risk, even when the temperature doesn't seem extreme. Here's the strange part most people never talk about. My level of injury is T89. So kama msee ako na a higher level injury, kitu T1 to T4, his or her body might overcompensate. You may sweat excessively above the level of injury. Your face, neck, upper chest might be drenched while the rest of your body stays dry. Kwa nini? Because that's your brain desperately trying to cool the body using whatever pathways it controls. It's not dramatic. A normal person anaweza kosa kunotice because it might not be visible, but it's constant. So me manage temperature yangu manually. I just improvise during cold seasons or hot seasons. Tuonge kuhusu spasms or spasticity. People see my leg move and say, that's amazing, maybe you're recovering. Let me give you a little story. Kuna a certain madam tulikuwa na yeye in my previous hospital. She saw and felt my leg move while she was praying. Alianza kudansa kiruka all over the place thinking a miracle had happened. Sikutaka kuharibu the moment, so nilimpea time, excitement iishe, then I explained to her what actually happened. Sometimes they call it a miracle, but here's the truth. Most spasms are not recovery, they are rebellion. Acha nikueleze. Under normal conditions, your brain sends signals down the spinal cord to do two things. They initiate movement and they control reflexes or tell muscles when to calm down. So after spinal cord injury, that calming signal is gone. The reflex circuits below my injury are still alive, but now they are unsupervised, hyperexcitable or overreactive. So when a stimulus happens, something small, something insignificant, the signal loops inside the spinal cord. Instead of traveling to the brain, it bounces back to motor neurons and triggers involuntary contractions. That's what spasms is. Ndio maana mguu yangu huwa inasonga yenyewe. It can be sudden, violent, painful or subtle, but constant. But here's what really messes with people. The triggers are often invisible. Inaweza kuwa brain inajaribu kuniambia niko na a full bladder, a urinary tract infection UTI, nimevaa a tight clothing, ama kuna wrinkle in the bed sheets, or just a skin irritation that I can't even feel. So mwili yangu huwa ina react to things my mind never registers. Now here's where it gets nuanced. Spasticity is not always bad. In some cases, it means the spinal cord circuits are still active. There may be remaining neural connections, and those can sometimes be used in rehabilitation. But make no mistake ama kujidanganya that spasms is a sign of your body coming back ama kupona. In simple terms, it's your nervous system operating without a governor. Ni kama a car engine revving without a brake. Makes sense? And living with that requires constant awareness, medication management, positioning, and patience that no one ever sees. This is one of the least discussed effects of spinal cord injury, and one of the most dangerous long-term effects that I rarely hear people, including doctors, talking about. Sikiza nikushow. Turudi high school biology kiasi. So your endocrine system depends on a precise communication between the brain, the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and the rest of the body. Much of that communication relies on the sympathetic nervous system, which travels through the spinal cord. After an injury, that signaling gets distorted or cut off. One major consequence is reduced secretion of growth hormone. Growth hormone si watoto ama bodybuilders pekee. It maintains muscle mass, bone density, fat metabolism, and cardiovascular health. So growth hormone levels ikidrop, mwili huwa inabadilika polepole. What happens? Muscle mass decreases, bone density weakens, fat increases, especially visceral fat. Insulin resistance develops, the risk of heart disease climbs, osteoporosis becomes a real threat. Na huwa ina happen polepole miaka zikisonga. Beyond growth hormone, other systems shift too. Melatonin production can be disrupted, leading to sleep disorders. Ndio maana insomnia huwa inatandika. The stress response becomes abnormal, cortisol rhythms change, energy regulation becomes unpredictable. Ask anyone with spinal cord injury. Leo anaweza mka akiwa fiti, akona psych mbaya. The next day utamku ukiwa down vibaya sana. Hiyo kitu ni bo sana. But sasa, it's not just tiredness that causes it. It's hormonal exhaustion. This is why many people with spinal cord injuries feel like their body is aging faster than it should, because in some ways it is. Hormone therapy is being studied, research is ongoing, but for now, many people live with these changes without ever being told their body feels so different. That's why you should share this information to those folks going through this. This is the part people underestimate the most. Breathing seems automatic until it isn't. Here's what we overlook. The spinal cord controls the diaphragm, the intercostal muscles between the ribs, and the abdominal muscles that allow you to cough effectively. High-level injuries, especially cervical injuries, weaken or paralyze these muscles. You might still breathe, but it's shallow, limited, inefficient, and coughing becomes weak or impossible. That matters more than most people realize. Kwa nini? Because coughing is how you clear mucus, secretion, and bacteria. Without it, mucus builds up, lungs partially collapse, infections take hold. Pneumonia becomes a constant threat. And here's the brutal truth. Respiratory complications are the leading cause of death in people with spinal cord injuries. Not the initial trauma, not the accident, not the fall, but the slow secondary failure of the respiratory system. It's silent, it's gradual, and it often comes when people think the danger has passed. This is where respiratory care, assisted coughing, chest physiotherapy, and vigilance are not optional, they are survival. Spinal cord injury doesn't just take movement, it takes systems, it takes automation, it forces you to live consciously inside your own biology. Every breath, every temperature change, every spasm, every hormone shift. And yet, here we are. Almost dead yesterday, maybe dead tomorrow, but today, alive, aware, still thinking, still speaking, still telling the truth. If this video taught you something, sit with it. If it challenged what you thought you knew, share it. And if you're living this reality, know this. You're not broken. You're adapting in ways most people will never have to imagine. Thank you.